2 years of waiting since the first look trailer featuring malnourished Ganondorf, short-haired Zelda, and green Zone hand-something Link has turned any new information regarding the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild into the most valuable commodity in the Nintendo world. Well, beside Nintendo Switch Pro, but that one is leaking like nothing else through third-party sources. Zelda, on the other hand, is more leak-tight, but some things might have still come out. Some may call them leaks, but we will call them rumors, as they don't have the same credibility as the Bloomberg reports we have seen on the Nintendo Switch Pro. But since E3 2021 is our big hope, let's go over the rumors that have surfaced during the long wait, silence, and ultimate promise about new footage of the game later this year. But first, be sure to smash that like button, press that subscribe button, and that notification bell, and the last two if you're new or haven't already. And let's get into a jungle of Zelda rumors. Our first rumor was reported in the first half of 2020 by the Video Game Chronicle, Gamematsu, and Eurogamer, and it seems to have been correct with one notable exception. That being HYRULE Warriors Age of Calamity launching in November 2020 and Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury in February 2021. This one has an explanation though, as it appears that the announcement of Super Mario 35 came as late as it did because the 3D Mario team tried to finish Bowser's Fury for a November release, but needed a few more months of work. Hence the already finished HYRULE Warriors Age of Calamity, which apparently was scheduled for February 2021, was instead pushed to fill in the empty November slot, and instead the Mario celebration would last longer. The Super Mario 35 Switch edition was also allegedly planned for the 2020 holiday rush in November with Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, but with Age of Calamity instead stepping in for these two in November and 3D World plus Bowser's Fury and Mario 35 Switch launching in Zelda's 35th anniversary month, the Zelda Triforce in 2021 was broken. Or if you prefer, the big anniversary triple in 2021. HYRULE Warriors Age of Calamity kicking off the Zelda 35th anniversary in February, Skyward Sword HD continuing it in July with the 10th anniversary remaster of the big 25th anniversary Zelda game, and finally concluding the anniversary with the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in November or December. Accordingly, Mario's year was to be exclusively tied to 2020 and Zelda to 2021. The Zelda team would thus get over 4 years of development on the sequel, and also the perfect release year for the last new mainline 3D Zelda game on the Nintendo Switch, as the next game will again be around 5 years away, say late 2026 or even 2027, on the successor to the Nintendo Switch. Meanwhile, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is also likely to take advantage of new hardware of its own. Which brings us to the second big rumor regarding the game after the big 35th anniversary Triforce that was ruined by Bowser's Fury. Rumor number 2. A simultaneous or near simultaneous Breath of the Wild 2 release with Nintendo's upcoming and leaked Ultimate Switch model. Zelda has since 2015 been tied to new hardware or revisions, and has 3 times in a row had their newest game or remake launch the same day and date as Nintendo's last 3 big hardware launches. New Nintendo 3DS launching outside of Japan the same day as Majora's Mask 3D in February 2015. Then in March 2017, the Nintendo Switch launching the same day as The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And finally, in 2019, the Nintendo Switch Lite launching the same day as the HD remake of Link's Awakening. A clear 2-year Zelda and new hardware pattern in 2015, 2017 and 2019, which points that something might be about to happen in the final quarters of 2021. A Nintendo Switch Pro with an OLED display undocked and even Nvidia DLSS 2.0 upscaling technology to 4K resolutions when docked. A big selling point, especially if it is taken advantage of in Nintendo's 2 biggest revealed upcoming new titles, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Pokémon Legends Arceus. Legends Arceus is already slated for early 2022, which was the release window of Breath of the Wild in 2017, which might point to a dual Switch Pro and Breath of the Wild sequel release to conclude 2021 with a massive bang, one that Nintendo needs to extend the Nintendo Switch's lifecycle, a conclusion for new 3D Zelda games, and the most powerful Nintendo Switch model. Now that we have got the anniversary, release and hardware rumors out of the way, let's focus on the game itself. And what is more mysterious, but also least probable to get correct if you decide to bet on it, the name of the game. Since rumor number 3 is naturally the official final title of the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We have seen examples from Death of the Wild or Breath of the Dead or Undead to Breath of the Evil and Breath of Darkness, which are decent from a marketing perspective, tying it to the parts of the name of the best-selling Zelda title of all time. There are also some more original ideas, rumors out there. Like the Legend of Zelda Bond of the Triforce, pointing to the theme of Trinity in Breath of the Wild and its sequel, Dark Tombs and Shadows of the Lost, which likely are based on the mysterious Zonai culture and the underground activities in Fall. Echoes of the Past, which again goes back to the distant past or times unknown referenced and found in creating a champion, or could tie to the origin in Skyward Sword itself. Hence the importance of Skyward Sword HD this year. The final one though is likely false, as I have personally disproven the Echoes of the Past leak, and many other things that were in that leak were also incorrect. And I've even made a more professional template for a similar leak. And it's fake, obviously it's fake. The truth is, the Zelda team loves to surprise and hide the meaning of their titles within the key mechanic or item of the game. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, The Wind Waker, Minish Cap, Phantom Hourglass, Twilight Princess, Spirit Tracks, Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds, and Breath of the Wild. All tied to the most crucial aspect of each game. The Ocarina and time travel, the Masks of Termina, and the main villain Majora. The Wind Waker of the Great Sea, the cap that can shrink and return Link back to normal, the Hourglass of the Temple, and the mane of the Ocean King, the princess who can transform us into a wolf, the Spirit Tracks Link traverses New Hyrule on, the sword which true strength is when brought up in a skyward position, an ability to merge and walk along walls, and finally, a wild post-apocalyptic world to discover. It is likely that its sequel's title will tie to a key feature and the gameplay of the game, which brings us over to the gameplay rumors, starting with rumor number 4. Hyrule of Malice, limiting us to linear exploration before returning back to open air. According to multiple insiders, the game will start as a linear story-driven experience and gradually open up after clearing new provinces of Ganondorf's Malice. Much like we cleared areas from being covered by Twilight in Twilight Princess and Ganondorf's plagues in the adult section of Ocarina of Time. In other words, offer a new and more bound experience to the provinces we visit, thus allowing for a more cinematic, story-driven and filled with voice actors experience, or if you prefer, a more traditional 3D Zelda experience, much like we have seen in every Zelda game prior to Breath of the Wild, before becoming a fully open world again later on in the game. Tyler, the main source of this rumor, highlighted the provinces will have much more depth this time around and be even more fulfilling than in Breath of the Wild, with likely more voiced characters, content, enemies, and most importantly, dungeons. Hence, rumor number 5 is dungeons returning in a big way. As we all know, in pre-Breath of the Wild Zelda games, the dungeons and the bosses in these were a great highlight of a Zelda quest, and after Breath of the Wild put more emphasis on the journey, the sequel might bring the attention back to the most crucial structures in the Zelda series, namely temples and dungeons. Naturally, if this world of Malice, as HMK coined it nicely back in 2020, will turn into reality, it is likely that the dungeons will also be cleared in a linear fashion, and thus gradually increase in difficulty, and possibly even embody specific dungeon items. The game will become more difficult as it opens up, but the reward in the later stages of the game will be a fully explorable open-air Hyrule that is likely to be very different from the one we know in Breath of the Wild, and dungeon quality that rivals the best ones in the series so far. Furthermore, it seems that Tyler isn't the only source to support the notion that Breath of the Wild sequel will feature lots of dungeons and redefined provinces. Since rumor number 6 is new areas and extended open-air map. A different anonymous source, on top of confirming the above notion of a different way to explore the world and dungeons, dropped rumors that the game will have new areas to extend the original map. Though not directly credited, these rumors go in line with the hiring call for level designers and a scenario planner from 2019, which would involve new dungeons, bosses, and potentially new areas. If true though, I have to say that I personally love these changes. In the end, combined a linear progression, but also then open progression, just like in Breath of the Wild, we could see a boundless reward being preceded by a linear journey like no other in the Zelda series. But as for rumored changes, there is more, so let's go over to rumor number 7, a world of new floating islands and craters. According to this rumor, as a result of the cataclysmic event teased in the Breath of the Wild 2 reveal, the world of Hyrule will be hugely altered. Parts of the world will be in the sky, which has left behind huge craters scattered around the game world overworld. Some of these are filled with water and emphasize navigation. In other words, this rumor indicates underwater gameplay, journeys to floating islands in the sky, and as teased in the first look trailer, underground exploration. Who knows? Journeys to the Sky might have something to do with a certain Skyward Sword HD amiibo and its possible functionality in Breath of the Wild sequel. Here is hoping, but back to other rumors. As let's just say that the last few rumors and the next one after this one are interesting. Rumor 8. Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 features at least 2 different new cities that have a much higher population density than those seen in Breath of the Wild. I would love for this rumor to be true, but at the same time, I am aware that urban towns and cities require a ton of work, with numerous buildings, interiors, NPCs, side quests, and so on. It is a massive undertaking, which might be too tall of an order for the sequel. Then again, a direct sequel can't only reuse. It needs to add and expand and offer new features and locations not found in the original. One of them was towns, as Hyrule Castle Town was in ruins, and the closest we got to a replacement in Breath of the Wild with squares, streets and walls was Gerudo Town. Rumor number 9. In Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Link will be able to summon beasts to fight alongside him. Rather unbelievable, but isn't that exactly what we want to see in the sequel to one of the most groundbreaking games in the last decade? This rumor ties to Link's alleged new glowing courage and green Zone power. But beasts? Is it pointing to the divine beast which we were able to control in certain sections in Age of Calamity? Or some new kind of companion who follows and fights for us since, the divine beast might no longer be functioning along with the rest of the Sheikah technology, at least at first? By the way, the last part is another rumor and theory. Isn't that a little too similar though to summoning Wolf Link in Breath of the Wild with the amiibo? But hey, maybe Wolf Link is being replaced, with the Skyward Sword HD amiibo, so in that regard, it would maybe make sense. Rumor number 10. Climbing changes in Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Climbing has allegedly been redesigned, meaning there is more of focus and good timing and the balance of the characters players have taken control of. If this rumor is true, I really hope this also fixes the problem with slippery slopes, as making climbing even more difficult than it already was, to put it mildly, is unnecessary. And instead, fix the rain, since there was too much rain. Too much rain. You also have other rumors such as Yiga-controlled Guardian enemies as suggested by a source of Game Over Jesse back in 2020, and he by the way has also brought a number of other rumors which have not been disproven, as nothing else can really be disproven apart from rumors that claim wrong release windows until the next trailer and obviously the reveal of the official title. Most of these, however, beside the game soon reaching localization, tied to the story of the game, and I really don't want to spoil anything regarding that one, as we all want to go into this game as blind as possible, outside of obviously trailers that Nintendo provide. So if you don't care about potential spoilers before we get new information about the game in the next weeks and months, then go and check out Jesse's videos after this one. Last but not least of the rumors that have not been disproven, we have the big rumor that is repeated time and time again. In Breath of the Wild 2, Zelda will be playable in some sections, in a similar way that Ciri was in The Witcher 3, but Link will be the main playable character for most of Breath of the Wild 2. This one has probably been up there since we saw Zelda's shorter hairstyle, and yes, there's a probability that the princess could be playable due to this rather visible change. The entire reveal trailer seems to include a lot of foreshadowing of things to come in the sequel, and one of the most obvious ones are Princess Zelda being playable in portions of the game. Even so, there are differences to this rumor, as some point to her only being used in sections like dungeons, while others say that she will be a character we can switch to or ask to join us at any time in the game. Something the Free Ideas on Reddit has visualized with this fan concept art. Personally, I see the latter option as a possibility, and maybe an example of making Link uncomfortable to play as at first until we obtain new powers for his hand in, say, dungeons that will make him superior to Princess Zelda. But you know what, here is a bonus for staying until the end, as with more and more people studying the first look of the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the more references are found to the first meeting with Zelda in Hyrule Castle's courtyard in the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Both GIF Zelda and HMK have pointed this out with the 2 last shots we see from the trailer. Can you see the man's evil eyes? Ladies and gentlemen, everything has a beginning and an end, including Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time, round Ocarina of Time years, and everything in Breath of the Wild sequel. Though the biggest rumor no doubt is the ultimate battle, which we commissioned Ganondorf for to portray for us. Will this be the end of the thread established in Ocarina of Time? It could be. But what do you think about all of these rumors, where some might be actual leaks? Sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, be sure to share and like this video and subscribe with notification bell on and again for all notifications. All of these actions and commenting are of course completely free to do, and by subscribing you're also becoming a part of our big Nintendo Switch Pro giveaway or Switch Plus games combined worth $400. But if you want to support us financially like our royal producer Charles Shash and our other Patreons, then you can do so at patreon.com/commonrealm. Finally, please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.